You taught your daughter to fall in love with her kidnapper. You bought her the dress. You sang her the songs. You told her it was the most beautiful love story ever told. But Beauty and the Beast isn't a love story. It's a clinical case study of Stockholm syndrome. A textbook example of trauma bonding. A princess imprisoned by a violent captor who learns to love him to survive. Belle doesn't fall in love with the Beast. She develops a psychological survival mechanism. And for 30 years, we've been teaching little girls that this is romance. That if a man is violent and controlling, but occasionally kind, that's love. That if you're patient enough, gentle enough, understanding enough, you can change an abuser. By the end of this, you'll never watch Beauty and the Beast the same way. You'll understand why psychologists call it the most dangerous love story ever told. And you'll know exactly what we've been teaching our daughters to desire. Before we continue, I need to ask you something. My grandmother told me nobody wants to hear these stories, that people prefer their fairy tales intact, their childhoods undisturbed, their romance unspoiled. But I think she's wrong. I think you're here because the truth matters, because understanding what we've been teaching our children matters. If you agree, subscribe to the Midnight Tales. Help me prove that these uncomfortable truths deserve to be told. Now let's continue, because what you're about to learn changes everything. Close your eyes, think back to childhood. Maybe you're sitting on the floor in front of the TV. It's 1991. Disney's Beauty and the Beast has just come to VHS. Your parents bought it for you. Or maybe you're older. Maybe you saw it in theaters. Best Picture nomination. First animated film ever to receive that honor. Critics called it a masterpiece. Audiences wept, and you fell in love with Belle. The girl who loved books. The girl who was different. The girl who wanted more than this provincial life. She was smart, independent, brave. Not like the other Disney princesses, not waiting for a prince, not defined by beauty alone. She had substance, she had dreams, she had agency. And then she met the Beast, a monster, literally a monster. Fur and fangs and rage, living in a cursed castle, surrounded by enchanted servants, imprisoned by his own anger. And somehow, impossibly, beautifully, she saw past the exterior. She saw the man inside the monster. She taught him gentleness. She taught him patience. She taught him love. And her love transformed him, broke the curse, turned the Beast into a prince. It's the ultimate love story, right? Inner beauty triumphs over outer appearance. Love conquers all. True love's power to transform. That's what we tell ourselves. That's what we tell our daughters. But let me ask you a question you've probably never thought to ask. How does this story actually begin? Not with romance, not with love at first sight, not with mutual attraction or courtship or choice. It begins with kidnapping, with imprisonment, with a father's life being traded for a daughter's freedom. It begins with Belle becoming a prisoner. Let's walk through the story. Not the story we remember. The story that actually happens, frame by frame. Belle's father, Maurice, gets lost in the woods. He's cold, scared, being chased by wolves. He finds a castle, seeks shelter. The Beast finds him. And the Beast doesn't help him, doesn't offer hospitality, doesn't show kindness to a lost, elderly man. The Beast throws him in a dungeon. No trial, no explanation, no mercy. Just immediate imprisonment for the crime of existing in his castle. Maurice is locked in a cell, cold, dark, terrifying. He's going to die there, and the Beast doesn't care. Belle discovers her father is missing. She searches for him, finds the castle, finds her father locked away, and she begs. She pleads for his release. And the beast says no. Not unless she takes his place. Not unless she agrees to become his prisoner instead. Forever. For the rest of her life. She will never leave, never see her father again, never return to her village, her home, her life. She must surrender herself completely. That's the deal. And Belle, faced with this impossible choice, faced with her father's life hanging in the balance, agrees. She becomes the beast's prisoner, and her father is thrown out into the snow, forced to leave his daughter behind, forced to abandon her to a monster. This is how the love story begins, with coercion, with captivity, with a young woman who has no choice but to sacrifice herself. The beast doesn't ask Belle on a date. He doesn't court her. He doesn't give her the option to say no. He imprisons her, takes away her freedom, takes away her future, takes away every choice she has. And then, and this is crucial, he expects her to be grateful. Grateful that he's given her a nicer cell than her father had. Grateful that he's allowing her to have dinner with him. Grateful for the library. Grateful for the pretty dresses. As if any of that changes the fundamental reality. She is a prisoner, and he is her captor. But here's where it gets worse. Because the movie doesn't frame this as kidnapping. It frames it as the beginning of a romance. As the meet-cute, as destiny. And we accept that framing without question. Before we go further, you need to understand what Stockholm Syndrome actually is. The term was coined in 1973. After a bank robbery in Stockholm, Sweden, 4 hostages were held in a vault for 6 days by 2 armed criminals. The hostages were threatened, terrorized. Their lives held in the balance for nearly a week, and when they were finally freed, something strange happened. They defended their captors, refused to testify against them. One hostage even got engaged to one of the criminals. Psychologists were baffled. Why would victims protect their abusers? Why would they form emotional bonds with people who had terrorized them? The answer is survival. Stockholm Syndrome is a psychological survival mechanism. It develops when someone is held captive, when they're completely dependent on their captor for survival, for food, for water, for their very life, when escape seems impossible, when resistance seems futile. The mind does something remarkable. It reframes the situation. It begins to see the captor not as an enemy, but as a protector, not as the source of danger, but as the source of safety. Every small kindness, a meal, a blanket, a moment of conversation, becomes magnified, becomes evidence of care, becomes proof of humanity. The victim starts to identify with the captor, to see things from their perspective, to justify their actions, to believe that they deserve the treatment they're receiving, and eventually to develop genuine feelings of affection, even love. This isn't weakness, this isn't stupidity. This is the brain doing everything it can to survive an impossible situation. If you can't escape, if you can't fight, then you adapt. You make the prison bearable by convincing yourself it's not a prison. You make the captor tolerable by convincing yourself they care about you. You make the situation survivable by rewriting the story you tell yourself about what's happening. The diagnostic criteria for Stockholm Syndrome are specific. 1. The victim is held in isolation with limited or no communication with the outside world. 2. The captor shows the victim some kindness, however small. 3. The victim begins to adopt the captor's perspective and see the world through their eyes. 4. The victim develops positive feelings toward the captor and negative feelings toward those trying to rescue them. Now, keep those criteria in mind as we return to Belle, because every single one of those criteria applies. Every single one. Belle's relationship with the beast isn't romance. It's a textbook case of trauma bonding, and we've been celebrating it for 30 years. Let's look at Belle's situation through the lens of Stockholm Syndrome. Criterion 1. Isolation. Belle is completely cut off from the outside world. She's locked in a castle, in the middle of an enchanted forest, surrounded by magical barriers. She can't leave, can't send messages, can't communicate with anyone outside the castle walls. Her father is gone. Her village is unreachable. Everyone she's ever known, everything she's ever cared about, is inaccessible. She is utterly, completely alone. Except for the beast and the enchanted servants, who, crucially, are dependent on the beast for their own survival. Who need Belle to fall in love with him so the curse will break. Who are not neutral observers, who are actively invested in Belle developing feelings for her captor. She has no one who will tell her the truth, no one who will validate her fear, no one who will help her escape. She is isolated. Completely. Criterion 2. Small kindnesses from the captor. At first, the beast is purely monstrous. He roars at her, demands she come to dinner, forbids her from entering the West Wing, rules her through fear and intimidation. But then something changes. Belle wanders into the West Wing, finds the enchanted rose, reaches for it, and the beast explodes. Violent, terrifying, rage. He screams at her, destroys furniture, towers over her with all his physical menace. And Belle runs. She flees the castle, into the winter night, into the woods, and she's immediately attacked by wolves. She's going to die. And the beast saves her. He fights off the wolves, gets injured in the process. And Belle, instead of escaping, instead of running while she has the chance, brings him back to the castle, tends his wounds. This is the turning point. This is where Stockholm Syndrome begins, because the beast showed her kindness. He saved her life. Never mind that he's the reason she was in danger in the first place. Never mind that she wouldn't have been in those woods if he hadn't imprisoned her. Never mind that running from him was a rational response to his violence. All Belle sees is that he got hurt protecting her. He bled for her. He risked his life for her. That's kindness, that's care, that's love. And from that moment, everything shifts. The beast gives Belle the library, an enormous, beautiful library, full of books, her greatest love. And Belle is overwhelmed with gratitude. Never mind that he's still her captor. Never mind that she's still a prisoner. Never mind that giving her books doesn't change the fundamental power dynamic. She's grateful. She sees his gesture as proof of his goodness, as evidence that he's not really a monster. As a reason to stay, as a reason to give him a chance. He feeds her. Lavish meals, he gives her beautiful dresses. He gives her freedom to roam the castle. Small kindnesses, small concessions. But in the context of captivity, these small things become enormous. They become everything. They become proof that he cares, that he's changing, that he's worthy of love. And Belle begins to change her story. She begins to see the beast not as her captor, but as someone misunderstood, someone lonely, someone who deserves compassion. This is criterion 3, and it's where the psychological manipulation becomes complete. Criterion 3. The victim adopts the captor's perspective. Belle starts to see things the way the beast sees them. She learns his story. The enchantress came to his door. He turned her away because she was ugly. She cursed him, turned him into a beast, trapped his servants, gave him until his 21st birthday to find true love or remain a monster forever. And Belle hears this story and feels sympathy. She feels sorry for him. Poor beast, cursed for being cruel, trapped in this castle. Unable to love or be loved, she internalizes his narrative, that he's a victim, that he's suffering, that he deserves understanding. Never mind that he was cursed for being cruel to a stranger, for judging based on appearance, for lacking basic compassion. Never mind that those are exactly the traits he's still displaying. Cruelty, judgment, violence. Belle sees past all of that. She focuses on his pain, his isolation, his loneliness. She begins to believe that he's not really bad. He's just hurt, just damaged, just in need of the right woman to heal him. This is a crucial shift, because now Belle is no longer trying to escape. She's trying to save him. Her goal has changed from get away from this dangerous person to help this misunderstood person. She's no longer his victim, she's his savior. And that reframing makes the captivity bearable, makes it purposeful, makes it noble. She's not trapped. She's choosing to stay, choosing to help, choosing to love him through his darkness. This is what trauma bonding looks like. The victim becomes invested in the abuser's well-being, takes responsibility for their emotions, believes they have the power to change them, believes that love, their love specifically, can transform the abuser into a better person. Belle starts to justify the beast's behavior. When he's cruel, she tells herself he's just frightened. When he's controlling, she tells herself he's just protecting her. When he's violent, she tells herself he's just expressing pain. He doesn't know how to communicate. She makes excuses for him, rationalizes his actions, minimizes his abuse. This is what we're teaching little girls, that men's violence is really just unexpressed emotion, that men's cruelty is really just pain in disguise, that it's women's job to decode that pain, to heal it, to love it away. We're teaching them that they can fix broken men, that they should try, that it's romantic to try, that their love is powerful enough to transform violence into gentleness. And when it doesn't work, when the violence continues, when the cruelty persists, we're teaching them that they just didn't love hard enough, didn't try hard enough, didn't give enough of themselves. We're teaching learned helplessness disguised as empowerment. But it gets worse, because the story doesn't just teach girls to accept captivity. It teaches them to defend it, to attack anyone who tries to rescue them. This is criterion 4, and it's the most dangerous part of all. Criterion 4, the victim develops positive feelings toward the captor and negative feelings toward rescuers. Remember Gaston, the villain of Beauty and the Beast, the bad guy, the one we're supposed to hate. Let's look at what Gaston actually does. He's arrogant, sexist, vain. He wants to marry Belle. Assumes she'll say yes because he's handsome and strong. When she rejects him, he's humiliated. His ego is wounded. All of that is true. Gaston is not a good person. But when Maurice comes back to the village, ranting about a beast who's holding Belle prisoner, Gaston doesn't believe him. Nobody does. Maurice sounds insane. A beast? A castle? Magic? But Maurice is desperate. He needs help rescuing his daughter. And Gaston sees an opportunity. A cruel opportunity. He tells Maurice he'll help rescue Belle if Maurice agrees to let Gaston marry her. It's manipulative. It's exploitative. It's using a father's desperation for personal gain. Maurice refuses, and Gaston, bitter and rejected, tries to have Maurice committed to an asylum. Again, this is not admirable behavior. This is villain behavior. But then Belle shows up. She has the magic mirror. She can prove the beast exists. She shows the whole village. There he is, real, monstrous, terrifying. And Belle defends him. He's not a monster. He's gentle and kind. The village sees a literal beast, fur, fangs, rage. And Belle tells them they're wrong. He's misunderstood. He's actually wonderful. Don't hurt him. Gaston, seeing an actual monster, seeing Belle defending this creature, does what any person would do. He raises an alarm. There's a dangerous beast near our village. It has Belle under some kind of spell. We need to protect our families. And he leads a mob to kill the beast. Now let me be clear. Gaston's motivations are selfish. He's jealous. He wants Belle for himself. He's not a hero. But his actions, protecting the village from a genuine threat, are not irrational. There is an actual beast. It did imprison Maurice. It is holding Belle. And Belle, rather than accepting rescue, rather than thanking the village for trying to save her, defends her captor, attacks her potential rescuers, rushes back to the castle to warn the beast, to protect him from the people trying to rescue her. This is Stockholm Syndrome in its purest form. The victim has completely identified with the captor, sees their well-being as more important than her own freedom, sees those trying to free her as the real threat, and we celebrate this. We cheer when Belle races back to save the beast. We cry when she cradles his dying body. We rejoice when her love breaks the curse. We frame Belle's defense of her captor as loyalty, as true love, as proof that she really sees him. But what we're actually watching is a young woman so psychologically damaged by captivity that she's willing to die for her abuser. She's willing to attack her own community, her own father, anyone who threatens the person who imprisoned her. This is trauma bonding. This is what abuse does to the mind, and we're packaging it as the greatest love story ever told. Now, I know what you're thinking. But the beast changed. He let her go. He sacrificed himself for her. That proves it's real love. Does it? Let's examine that closely. The beast does release Belle. When she sees through the magic mirror that her father is sick, dying in the woods searching for her, the beast lets her go. He gives her the mirror, tells her to go to him, releases her from her promise. And this is framed as the ultimate act of love. He's putting her needs above his own. He's sacrificing his chance at breaking the curse. He's proving he's changed. But let's think about this. Belle has been his prisoner for weeks, maybe months. She's had zero contact with her father, zero knowledge of whether he's alive or dead. She's been completely isolated. And now, she discovers he's dying, searching for her, in desperate need. And the beast's great act of love is letting her go, help him, allowing her to save her father's life. This is not sacrifice. This is basic human decency. This is the absolute minimum. Letting someone rescue their dying father is not proof of transformation. It's proof that you're slightly less monstrous than someone who would force a daughter to watch her father die. The bar is on the ground, and we're celebrating the beast for stepping over it. Moreover, the beast's decision to release Belle is not purely altruistic. He does it because the servants tell him to, because Lumiere and Cogsworth and Mrs. Potts convince him that it's the right thing to do. He needs to be persuaded to show basic compassion. That's not character growth. That's external pressure overcoming internal selfishness. And crucially, he releases her after he's already gotten what he needed from her. He's already gotten her to see him differently, to care about him, to develop feelings for him. He's accomplished the psychological bonding. Releasing her now is strategic. It makes him look noble. It makes her grateful. It ensures that when she has the choice, when she's free, she'll choose to come back. And she does. She comes back, not because she's imprisoned, not because she has to, but because she wants to, because she's psychologically bonded to him, because the trauma bonding is complete. She returns to save him from the mob, finds him dying, confesses her love, breaks the curse, and he transforms from beast to prince, handsome, human, perfect, and they live happily ever after. But here's the question nobody asks. What happens after the transformation? What happens when the curse is broken, the castle is restored, and Belle is married to a prince? What happens in that marriage? Because the beast's personality didn't change. The curse breaking didn't alter his fundamental character. He's still the same person who was cursed for cruelty, the same person who imprisoned an old man for seeking shelter, the same person who kidnapped Belle, the same person who screamed at her, intimidated her, controlled her. He just looks different now. He's pretty. And somehow, that makes everything okay. The movie ends with them dancing, happy, in love. But it's been weeks. Belle has known this person for weeks, under conditions of extreme psychological stress, under captivity. She doesn't know him, not really. She knows the version of him that emerged during trauma bonding. She knows the captor who occasionally showed kindness, but she doesn't know what he's like in normal life, when he's not trying to break a curse, when he's not on his best behavior, when he has power, real power, as a prince. What happens the first time they disagree? The first time Belle wants something he doesn't want? The first time his temper flares? Will he scream at her the way he did when she entered the West Wing? Will he use his physical presence to intimidate her? Will he lock her in rooms again? Because those behaviors were never addressed, never challenged, never changed. They were just forgiven, overlooked because Belle learned to see them differently. But changing how you see abuse doesn't make it not abuse. It just makes you more vulnerable to it. And this is what we're teaching. We're teaching girls that abusive men can be transformed by love, that violence is just a communication problem, that if you're patient enough, understanding enough, self-sacrificing enough, you can fix him. But you can't. Let's talk about what happens when girls internalize this narrative, when they grow up believing that Beauty and the Beast is a love story. When they learn that the right kind of love can transform a violent man. They enter relationships with red flags, men who are controlling, who isolate them from friends and family, who have explosive tempers, who are cruel one moment and kind the next. And instead of leaving, they stay. Because they remember Belle. They remember that the Beast seemed monstrous at first too. They remember that Belle saw past his exterior, saw the pain underneath, loved him through his darkness, and was rewarded with transformation. So they try to do the same. They make excuses for his behavior. He's just stressed. He had a difficult childhood. He doesn't know how to express his feelings. Deep down, he's actually really sensitive. They take responsibility for his emotions. If I just love him better, he'll change. If I'm more patient, more understanding, more supportive, if I can just show him that he's worthy of love, he'll stop being cruel. They ignore the warnings from friends and family. You don't understand him like I do. You only see the bad side. I know the real him. He's different with me. This is Stockholm Syndrome playing out in real relationships. This is trauma bonding disguised as romantic devotion. And the statistics are devastating. 1 in 4 women will experience domestic violence in their lifetime. On average, a victim will leave an abusive relationship 7 times before leaving permanently. 7 times. Why? Why do they go back? because they believe they can change him, because they've been taught that love transforms, that patience redeems, that their love specifically has the power to save a broken man. Belle did it. Why can't they? And when the violence escalates, when the cruelty continues, when the transformation never comes, they blame themselves. I'm not loving him right. I'm not trying hard enough. If I were more like Belle, this would work. They internalize the failure, take responsibility for his refusal to change, believe that they're the problem, not him, not his violence, not his choice to hurt them, them. They're not patient enough, not understanding enough, not loving enough. This is what Beauty and the Beast teaches. Not explicitly, not intentionally, but narratively, psychologically. It teaches that women are responsible for men's emotions, that women can fix broken men through love, that captivity can become romance if you just change your perspective. That violence is forgivable if the violent person is suffering. These are lies, dangerous lies, lies that get women killed. Every day, approximately 3 women in the United States are murdered by their intimate partners. 3 women, every single day. And I'm not saying Beauty and the Beast is directly responsible for domestic violence. That would be absurd. But I am saying that stories matter. Narratives matter. The stories we tell children about love shape how they understand love as adults. And when we tell them that the greatest love story ever told is about a woman imprisoned by a violent man who learns to love her captor, we're shaping dangerous expectations. We're normalizing abuse. We're romanticizing captivity. We're teaching that love means enduring mistreatment in hopes of transformation. And it's not just Beauty and the Beast. This pattern shows up everywhere, in fairy tale after fairy tale, in romance after romance. This idea that a good woman's love can redeem a bad man. Let me show you. Twilight. Bella falls in love with Edward, a vampire who watches her sleep without her knowledge, who disables her car so she can't visit friends he doesn't approve of, who leaves her, causing such severe depression she becomes catatonic for months. And when he comes back, she takes him back immediately, forgives everything, because she loves him. And we call it romance. 50 Shades of Grey. Anastasia falls in love with Christian, a man who tracks her phone, buys the company where she works so he can control her, uses a legal contract to dictate what she eats, how she exercises, what she wears. Is explicitly violent, and when she tries to leave, he manipulates her into staying. Uses his trauma as justification for his control, and she stays because she believes she can heal him. And we call it romance, The Notebook. Ali falls in love with Noah, a man who threatens to kill himself if she won't go on a date with him, who shows up at her workplace to demand her attention, who publicly humiliates her to pressure her into a relationship. Stalking behavior, emotional manipulation, coercion. And we call it the most romantic movie ever made, After. Tessa falls in love with Hardin, a man who literally made a bet to seduce her, who is cruel, controlling, jealous, who damages her property, who isolates her from friends. And when his abuse is exposed, when she learns the relationship started as a game to humiliate her, she forgives him, takes him back, because he's damaged, because he needs her, because love conquers all. And we call it romance. Do you see the pattern? In every single one of these stories, a young woman falls for a man who isolates her, controls her, displays violence or threats of violence, uses his trauma to justify his behavior, and the woman makes excuses for him, takes responsibility for fixing him, believes her love can transform him, defends him against those who try to warn her. This is the same narrative. Over and over and over, packaged differently, marketed to different generations, but fundamentally the same story. The story of a woman who believes she can save a dangerous man through love, and we keep telling it. We keep selling it. We keep teaching it to our daughters, in books, in movies, in fairy tales, and then we act surprised when they end up in abusive relationships, when they defend their abusers, when they go back 7 times, when they believe that if they just love harder, he'll change. We created this with our stories, with our romance narratives, with Beauty and the Beast playing on repeat since 1991. We taught them this. But here's what nobody wants to acknowledge. Here's the uncomfortable truth that makes this even worse. Beauty and the Beast wasn't always like this. The original story was a warning, not a romance, a warning. The fairy tale Beauty and the Beast is old. The first published version appeared in 1740, written by Gabrielle Suzanne Barbeau de Villeneuve. It was a novel. 362 pages. And the story was very different. In Villeneuve's version, the Beast is not cursed for being cruel. He's cursed by a wicked fairy who wanted to marry him. When he refused her, she turned him into a beast. The curse has nothing to do with his character. He's a victim of magical assault, not a villain learning redemption. Beauty, in this version, has agency, real agency. She goes to the Beast's castle willingly, not to save her father from imprisonment, but as part of a bargain. Her father stole a rose from the Beast's garden. The Beast demanded payment, and Beauty, out of love for her father and a sense of honor, agreed to go. But she's not a prisoner. She can leave whenever she wants. The Beast explicitly tells her this. She stays because she chooses to. And crucially, she doesn't fall in love with him because he's kind to her. She has prophetic dreams. Dreams sent by a fairy. In these dreams, she sees a handsome prince being tortured. She falls in love with the prince in her dreams, not with the Beast. When she finally agrees to marry the Beast, it's not because she's learned to love the monster. It's because the fairy in her dreams reveals that the Beast and the prince are the same person, that he's been cursed, that only her agreement to marry him will break the spell. She makes an informed choice, based on complete information, with full agency. This is a very different story. It's a story about choosing compassion over appearance, about seeing past curses to the person underneath, about making difficult choices for good reasons. Is it perfect? No. There are still problematic elements, but it's not about Stockholm Syndrome. It's not about learning to love your captor. It's not about captivity becoming romance. Then came Jeanne-Marie Le Prince de Beaumont in 1756. She shortened the story, made it simpler, more appropriate for children. In her version, the backstory is stripped away. The complexity is removed. Beauty goes to the castle to save her father. She's not exactly a prisoner, but she's not exactly free either. The morale becomes simpler. Don't judge by appearances. Inner beauty matters. Kindness transforms. Still problematic in places, but closer to a genuine moral tale. And then came Disney, 1991, and Disney made choices. Specific choices that transformed the story completely. They made Belle an explicit prisoner. They made the Beast violent and controlling. They removed Belle's agency almost entirely. They turned a fairy tale about compassion into a story about trauma bonding. Why? Because conflict creates drama. Because captivity creates stakes. Because watching a woman slowly fall for her captor reads as romantic if you frame it correctly. And they did frame it correctly. With soaring music, with beautiful animation, with the library scene and the ballroom dance, and tale as old as time, playing while Belle and Beast fall in love. They made kidnapping look like destiny. They made captivity look like romance. They made Stockholm Syndrome look like true love. And it worked. Best Picture nomination. Cultural phenomenon. Generations of children growing up believing this is what love looks like. Disney remade it in 2017. Live action. Emma Watson as Belle. And they tried to fix some of the problems. They gave Belle more agency, made her an inventor, gave her a backstory about her mother, made the Beast slightly less violent. But the fundamental narrative remained unchanged. She's still a prisoner. He's still her captor. She still falls in love with him while in captivity. She still defends him against her rescuers. It's still Stockholm Syndrome, just with better special effects. And we still call it romance. So what do we do with this information? Now that you know, now that you've seen the pattern, now that you understand what we've been teaching, do we ban Beauty and the Beast? Do we burn the books and delete the movies? I'm not suggesting we destroy Beauty and the Beast. I'm not calling for censorship. I'm calling for honesty, for critical thinking, for teaching children to see stories clearly. You can show your daughter Beauty and the Beast, but talk to her about it. Ask her questions. Why does Belle stay in the castle? Does she have a choice? Is it okay that the Beast locked her up? What would you do if someone imprisoned you? Is it Belle's job to fix the Beast's anger? Can you change someone through love? Don't just let the movie teach her. Teach her yourself. Give her the tools to analyze, to question, to see the difference between fantasy and healthy relationships. Show her other stories, stories where women have real agency, where love is based on mutual respect, not captivity, where transformation comes from within, not from a woman's redemptive love. Moana, a girl who saves her people. No romance plot, no prince. Just her courage and her journey. Brave, a girl who refuses to be married off, who fights for her own choices, who repairs her relationship with her mother through honest communication, not self-sacrifice. Frozen, where the true love that breaks the curse is sisterly love, not romantic love. Where the handsome prince is revealed as the villain, where Anna learns that you can't marry someone you just met. These stories exist. They're getting better. But Beauty and the Beast still dominates, still sells more merchandise, still defines romance for millions, and we have to actively counteract that. We have to teach our daughters that love is not about fixing broken men. Love is not about enduring mistreatment in hopes of transformation. Love is not about sacrificing yourself for someone else's emotional growth. Real love is mutual. Real love is respectful. Real love doesn't require you to give up your freedom. Real love doesn't start with captivity. We have to teach them that if a man isolates you, that's abuse. If a man controls you, that's abuse. If a man uses his trauma to justify hurting you, that's manipulation. If a man expects you to fix him, that's not your responsibility. You are not responsible for anyone's emotional well-being except your own. You cannot save anyone who doesn't want to save themselves, and trying to do so will only destroy you. These are the lessons Beauty and the Beast should teach, but doesn't. So we have to teach them ourselves. And it's not just our daughters who need these lessons. It's our sons too. Because Beauty and the Beast teaches boys something equally dangerous. It teaches them that their violence is forgivable, that their cruelty can be excused, that the right woman will fix them. Think about what the Beast learns in this story. He learns that he can be violent, controlling, cruel. And as long as he shows occasional kindness, a woman will love him anyway. He learns that he doesn't have to change fundamentally. He just has to find a woman patient enough to endure his rage, understanding enough to make excuses for his behavior, loving enough to believe she can transform him. He learns that his emotions are someone else's responsibility, that when he's angry, it's because he's in pain. And it's a woman's job to soothe that pain, to manage his feelings, to walk on eggshells to avoid triggering his rage. He learns that he deserves love despite his cruelty, that his suffering justifies his violence, that his trauma excuses his behavior. This is dangerous. This creates men who believe that their emotions justify their actions, that women exist to heal them, that violence is acceptable if you're damaged enough. And when these men enter relationships, they bring these beliefs with them. They explode in anger and expect forgiveness. They control their partners and call it protection. They isolate women and call it love. They use their past trauma as a shield against accountability. I can't help it. I had a difficult childhood. You know I have anger issues. I'm working on it. Just be patient with me. If you really loved me, you'd understand. They make their violence the woman's problem to solve, and they learn this from the stories we told them. From Beauty and the Beast. From every romance that frames male violence as passion. From every story where a broken man is redeemed by a good woman's love. We need to teach boys different lessons. We need to teach them that your emotions are your responsibility. Your trauma is not an excuse for hurting others. Violence is never acceptable regardless of how you're feeling. If you're struggling, you need professional help, not a girlfriend to fix you. Real strength is controlling your temper, not expecting others to manage it for you. These are hard lessons. They go against the cultural narrative, against the romance we've been sold. But they're necessary, because right now, we're raising boys to be beasts, and girls to love them anyway. And here's the thing that keeps me up at night. The thing that makes this so insidious. Beauty and the Beast isn't presented as a cautionary tale. It's presented as aspirational, as the ideal, as what every girl should want. Walk into any toy store, any children's clothing department, any party supply store. You'll find Beauty and the Beast everywhere. Belle dresses, yellow ball gowns for little girls, so they can dress up as the woman who fell in love with her captor. Beast plushies, soft, cuddly versions of a violent man, for children to hug, to sleep with, to love. Beauty and the Beast bedding, so children can sleep surrounded by images of captivity reframed as romance. Lunchboxes, backpacks and notebooks, Belle's face everywhere. Belle in the library the Beast gave her while she was his prisoner. Belle dancing with the Beast who kidnapped her. Belle choosing captivity over freedom, and it's marketed as empowerment. Belle loves to read. Belle is smart and independent. Belle doesn't care about appearances. All technically true, but also completely missing the point, because Belle's intelligence doesn't protect her from abuse. Her independence doesn't prevent her from being imprisoned. Her ability to see past appearances leads her to romanticize violence. These aren't protective factors. They're the traits that make her vulnerable, that make her believe she can fix him, that make her stay when she should run. And we're selling this to children. We're merchandising Stockholm Syndrome, making it cute, making it desirable, making it something girls should aspire to. The Disney Princess Industrial Complex generates billions of dollars annually. Belle is one of the top-selling princesses, right up there with Cinderella and Ariel. Every Belle dress sold is another girl learning that captivity can become love. every beast toy sold is another child, learning that monsters can be redeemed by patience. Every Beauty and the Beast birthday party is another celebration of trauma bonding. We've commodified abuse, packaged it in yellow satin and animated roses, made it so appealing, so beautiful, so romantic that questioning it feels like ruining childhood. But childhood is already being ruined, just in a different way. By teaching girls that this is what love looks like, that this is what they should want, that this is what they deserve. And the most frustrating part? When you point this out, when you analyze Beauty and the Beast critically, people get angry. They say you're overthinking it, reading too much into it, ruining a perfectly innocent children's movie. But is it innocent? It's just a fairy tale. It's not meant to be taken literally. You're ruining childhood magic. Can't we just enjoy things without analyzing them to death? These are the defenses, the pushback against criticism. And I understand them, I do. Nobody wants to believe that something they loved as a child is problematic. Nobody wants to feel like they've been teaching their daughters something harmful. Nobody wants their nostalgia tainted by critical analysis. But here's the thing about fairy tales. They're not innocent. They never were. Fairy tales are how we transmit cultural values, how we teach children what's acceptable and what's not, what's desirable and what's dangerous. They're moral instruction disguised as entertainment, and the morals they teach matter. When you tell a child that Beauty and the Beast is a love story, you're teaching them that captivity can become love. Violence can be forgiven. Men who hurt you might just be misunderstood. Your love can change an abuser. These aren't neutral messages. These aren't harmless fantasies. These are instructions, templates for understanding relationships, frameworks for interpreting love, and children internalize them. Studies show that media consumption affects children's understanding of relationships, that exposure to romanticized abuse in media correlates with accepting abuse in real relationships, that girls who consume media depicting controlling male behavior as romantic are more likely to excuse similar behavior from real partners. This isn't speculation. This is documented research. The stories we tell children shape how they see the world, and we've been telling them that Stockholm Syndrome is romance for 3 decades. But it's just Disney. It's just entertainment. No. Disney is a cultural behemoth. Disney shapes childhood across the globe. Disney princesses are how millions of girls first learn about love, relationships, and gender roles. What Disney teaches matters. And Disney has been teaching that captivity plus patience equals true love. We can't keep hiding behind, it's just a fairy tale. We have to acknowledge that fairy tales have power, that stories shape beliefs, that what we celebrate in fiction affects what we tolerate in reality. Beauty and the Beast is not innocent, it's instruction. And we need to decide if these are the instructions we want to pass down. Because here's what I keep coming back to. The question that started all of this. The question that made me examine this story in the first place. Why does Belle fall in love with the Beast? Really? Why? What does Belle actually love about the Beast? Not what the movie tells us. What does the story show us? He imprisoned her. He screamed at her. He forbade her from parts of his castle. He exploded in violent rage when she disobeyed. He isolated her completely from everyone she knew. Then he saved her from wolves. Wolves she was only running from because he'd imprisoned her. He gave her a library, while she was his prisoner. He gave her dresses and meals and freedom to roam the castle. None of which changes the fact that she couldn't leave. They danced together. He showed her a magic book. They had snowball fights. And somehow, from these interactions, Belle falls in love. But why? What about the beast is lovable? He's not kind. He shows occasional kindness, which is different. He's not patient. He has explosive anger issues. He's not understanding. He controls her and forbids her from parts of the castle. He's not changed. He's the same person who imprisoned her, just slightly less overtly violent. So what is it? What makes Belle love him? The only answer that makes sense is that she's been psychologically conditioned through isolation, through dependency, through trauma bonding. She loves him because she has to, because she has no other choice, because loving him makes captivity bearable, because hating him, fearing him, resenting him would make every day unbearable. So her mind protects her. It reframes the situation, turns captor into protector, turns prison into home, turns Stockholm syndrome into love. This isn't romance. This is survival. And we're teaching girls to desire it, to see this psychological adaptation to trauma as the height of romantic love. We're teaching them that the moment a broken man shows them basic human kindness, they should fall at his feet, should see his pain, should dedicate themselves to healing him, should sacrifice their freedom, their safety, their very selves for the chance to transform him. This is not love. This is programming. And it's been running on repeat since 1991. So let me ask you again, the question from the beginning. The question you probably couldn't answer then, but maybe you can now. Why did you teach your daughter to fall in love with her kidnapper? You didn't mean to. I know that. You didn't sit down and think, I'm going to teach my daughter that captivity is romantic. You thought you were teaching her about inner beauty, about not judging by appearances, about kindness and transformation. You thought you were showing her a love story, but you weren't. You were showing her a manual for accepting abuse, for rationalizing violence, for staying when she should run. And I'm not blaming you. We were all taught the same thing. We all grew up with these stories. We all internalized these narratives. Belle was our princess too. We loved her. We wanted to be her, smart, brave, different from everyone else. We didn't see the Stockholm syndrome. We saw romance, because that's how it was framed. That's how it was sold. That's how it was packaged. But now we know. Now we've seen it. Now we understand what we've been teaching. And we have a choice. We can keep pretending it's innocent, keep showing beauty and the beast without context, keep letting Disney shape our daughter's understanding of love, keep perpetuating the cycle. Or we can do something different. We can watch it with them, talk about it critically, ask questions, point out the problems, teach them to see stories clearly. We can supplement it with better stories. Stories where women have agency, where love is mutual, where violence isn't romanticized, where transformation comes from within, not from external salvation. We can teach our daughters that they are not responsible for fixing broken men. Their love is not a cure for someone else's violence. Patience is not the same as tolerance for abuse. They deserve partners who respect their freedom, not captors who occasionally show kindness. And we can teach our sons that. Their emotions are their responsibility. Their trauma doesn't excuse their violence. They need professional help, not a woman to heal them. Real love requires self-control, not asking others to manage their rage. These lessons won't come from Disney. They have to come from us, from parents who see clearly, from educators who teach critically, from a culture that stops romanticizing abuse. Beauty and the Beast will probably never go away. It's too embedded in our culture, too profitable, too beloved. But we can change how we engage with it. We can stop treating it as the romantic ideal. We can start treating it as a cautionary tale, a story about what happens when isolation, dependency, and trauma bonding are mistaken for love. A story about what we've been teaching our daughters to desire. And maybe, just maybe, we can start teaching something different, something healthier, something true. That love is not about enduring captivity. It's about choosing freedom. Together, this is the Midnight Tales, where we don't let comfortable lies stay comfortable, where we examine the stories we tell ourselves and our children, where we ask the questions nobody wants to ask. Why did Belle fall in love with the beast? Not because it was destiny, not because he changed, not because love conquers all, but because she was psychologically conditioned through captivity to see her captor as her savior. Because Stockholm Syndrome was packaged as true love. Because we've been teaching our daughters to desire their own imprisonment for 30 years. If this video changed how you see Beauty and the Beast, share it. Send it to parents who need to hear this, to educators teaching fairy tales, to anyone who's ever wondered why Belle stayed. The truth deserves to be told. The pattern deserves to be broken. Our daughters deserve better stories. Our sons deserve better models. And maybe if we start teaching differently, the next generation won't confuse captivity with love, won't romanticize violence, won't believe that their patience can transform an abuser. Maybe they'll know that real love looks different, feels different, is different, that it starts with freedom, not captivity, with respect, not control, with mutual choice, not coercion. That's the fairy tale we should be telling. But until Disney tells it, we have to tell it ourselves. Thank you for listening. Thank you for seeing. Thank you for being willing to question what you thought you knew. This has been The Midnight Tales. Stay curious, stay critical, and never stop asking what we're really teaching our children. Until next time.